The strongest souls are often the most observed. Unknown. Sigma ladies. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift? Eyes lock onto you, conversations pause, and people just notice you, even when you're not seeking attention. It's not just in your head. People stare at Sigma females for reasons they don't even understand. It's not about looks alone. It's about presence, energy, and the way you break the mold. Some stare out of admiration. Others stare out of confusion, intimidation, or even envy. But no matter the reason, the fact remains. You command attention without asking for it. Today, we're breaking down 10 deep reasons why Sigma females capture attention effortlessly. These are not the usual surface-level explanations. Some will make you rethink your power, while others will prove that your presence alone is a force to be reckoned with. Before we begin, if you're all about mastering presence, confidence, and silent dominance, hit that subscribe button. This is the Sigma Lady movement, and we don't follow trends, we set them. The silent aura effect. A Sigma female doesn't need loud words, flashy gestures, or dramatic expressions to be noticed. She doesn't crave attention, and paradoxically, that makes her impossible to ignore. This is what I call the silent aura effect. A presence so strong that it naturally pulls people in. It's the combination of self-possession, an unreadable expression, and the unshakable energy of someone who doesn't need validation. Most people spend their lives seeking external approval. They fidget, they overshare, they seek constant reassurance. But a Sigma female? She walks into a space completely self-contained. No nervous energy, no people-pleasing, just calm, collected presence. And that's where the staring begins. People don't know how to react to someone who is truly at peace with themselves. They are used to seeing individuals who either demand attention or shrink away from it. But when you walk in with quiet power, unbothered by social expectations, you disrupt the norm. Silence is powerful. It makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to fill in the blanks. When you don't explain yourself, when you don't overcompensate, when you carry yourself with quiet assurance, people have no choice but to observe and wonder. There's also a psychological factor at play. The human brain is wired to notice what stands out. And in a world full of noise, silence is disruptive. When everyone else is trying so hard to be seen, the one who doesn't seek attention becomes the most intriguing presence in the room. This effect isn't just about body language, it's about energy. A Sigma female owns her space without asking permission. Whether she's standing in a crowd or walking alone, there's something about her that demands attention without a single word. And that's why they stare. The unfinished puzzle syndrome. People are obsessed with patterns. Their brains are constantly working to categorize, understand, and label the world around them. And that's exactly why Sigma females disrupt the system. Most people fit into neat little boxes, easy to define, easy to predict. But when someone doesn't fit the mold, it creates what I call the unfinished puzzle syndrome. People stare at Sigma females because they are trying to figure them out. Your style, demeanor, and energy don't match what people expect. You might be beautiful, but you're not a typical attention seeker. You might be quiet, but you don't radiate insecurity. You might be social, but you don't seem to need validation. You might be successful, but you don't broadcast it for approval. And this contradiction drives people crazy. They don't know whether you are confident or mysterious, kind or intimidating, warm or distant. You break expectations at every turn, and that makes people stare longer than they should. It's human nature to try to categorize people quickly. The brain wants to simplify things to save energy, but a Sigma female is anything but simple. You operate outside of the normal behavioral range, and this forces people's brains to work overtime. This is why some stares feel more intense than others. Some people stare at you as if they're trying to decode you. They are attempting to understand the unexplainable. This effect becomes even more powerful when combined with mystery. If you don't reveal much about yourself, if you keep a calm, unreadable expression, if you aren't quick to explain your thoughts, people become even more fixated on you. They might assume there's something different about you, but they can't pinpoint what it is. And that's exactly why they keep staring. A Sigma female is a walking contradiction. She's strong, but doesn't seek dominance. She's beautiful, but doesn't beg for attention. She's warm, but doesn't let just anyone in. She's reserved, but far from weak. And when people encounter something they can't understand, they obsess over it. The biological magnetism phenomenon. Whether we realize it or not, human attraction and attention are deeply rooted in biology. Sigma females often possess a natural magnetism that isn't just about beauty, it's about subconscious signals that trigger instant attention. This is what I call the biological magnetism phenomenon. It's the reason why some people command stares without even trying. The truth is, your DNA is doing the work for you. One of the key factors behind this phenomenon is body language. Studies show that people are naturally drawn to those who display open, relaxed, yet dominant postures. Sigma females move differently. They walk with purpose, grace, and self-assurance. Their movements are neither exaggerated nor hesitant, and this silent confidence draws the human eye like a magnet. Another factor is facial symmetry and expressions. While perfection isn't necessary, certain facial structures and expressions hold more visual weight than others. Sigma females often carry a look of deep thought, quiet strength, or controlled intensity, which naturally intrigues people. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Your energy matters just as much as your appearance. Have you ever noticed that some people just feel magnetic? They might not be conventionally attractive, but something about them pulls you in. That's the power of unshakable confidence and a well-grounded aura. A Sigma female doesn't move with desperation or seek approval. She isn't over the top, nor does she try to prove anything. This level of inner balance radiates outward, sending subconscious signals that people pick up without even realizing it. And let's not forget the power of voice. Research suggests that vocal tonality plays a huge role in attraction and attention. Sigma females often have calm, controlled and deliberate speech patterns. They don't rush to fill silence, they don't engage in nervous chatter, and they speak with purpose. Even if they are soft-spoken, their words carry weight. All of these elements combined create an aura that naturally commands attention. It's not something you have to force, it's simply how you exist, and that's why they stare. The Disruptors Gaze Society has rules, not the written ones, but the ones that dictate how people are expected to behave. These unspoken expectations shape everything, from the way people dress to how they interact in social settings. A Sigma female, however, doesn't play by these rules, and that's exactly why people stare. This is what I call the disruptor's gaze, the reaction people have when they witness someone who challenges the norm simply by being themselves. Most people operate within social comfort zones. They follow trends, mimic others, and seek approval to fit in. But a Sigma female, she moves independently. She isn't trying to prove anything, isn't desperate for validation, and isn't afraid to be different. This disrupts people's expectations in an instant. They don't know what to do with someone who refuses to conform. Think about it. When a person walks into a room exuding quiet confidence, not arrogance, not attention-seeking, just pure self-assurance, it creates a shift in energy. People sense it. They feel the difference. And because it's unfamiliar, they can't help but observe it closely. Another way Sigma females break expectations is through their reaction to social situations. Most people expect immediate engagement, laughing at the right moments, reacting on cue, playing into small talk. But a Sigma female? She chooses when to engage. She's not rude, but she's not overly eager either. She controls the interaction instead of being controlled by it. This challenges the way people are used to interacting, and because they don't often see someone so comfortable in their own space without trying to impress others, they stare. Sigma females also tend to dress for themselves, not for external validation. Whether that means wearing classic, effortless outfits or simply carrying themselves with elegance, their choices reflect their own standards, not society's. This adds to their mystique and makes people wonder, who is she? And let's not forget eye contact. Most people either avoid it or overuse it to assert dominance. Sigma females, however, master the balance. Their gaze is steady, controlled, and filled with a silent knowingness. They don't look away out of shyness, but they also don't stare aggressively. This creates an effect where people feel seen and studied at the same time. It makes them hyper-aware of the Sigma female's presence, and naturally, they become fixated. In a world where people follow unwritten rules, the one who breaks them effortlessly becomes the one who stands out the most, and that's why they stare. People stare at Sigma females because, on a subconscious level, they see themselves reflected in them. This is what I call the mirror reflex, a psychological phenomenon where people are drawn to those who embody qualities they admire, desire, or fear. Here's how it works. Humans are naturally wired to recognize traits in others that they relate to, whether those traits are ones they possess, lack, or secretly wish they had. When someone sees a Sigma female, they may be staring at a version of themselves they've never had the courage to embrace. For some, it's admiration. They see the independence, confidence, and self-reliance of a Sigma female and feel inspired. They may not even realize it, but they respect the way she moves through the world unapologetically. They stare because they want to understand how she does it. For others, it's intimidation. They stare because you remind them of what they are not. Maybe they wish they could carry themselves with the same level of confidence. Maybe they've been conditioned to seek external approval, and your refusal to do so challenges everything they know. Then there are those who stare because you remind them of someone from their past. Maybe you have similar features to a person they loved or a person they lost. Maybe your energy stirs an old emotion within them that they haven't processed. Your presence awakens something deep within them, and they can't look away. Another reason the mirror reflex happens is because you disrupt their self-perception. People tend to define themselves in comparison to others. If they believe they are confident, dominant, or mysterious, but then encounter a Sigma female who effortlessly embodies those traits, they start questioning their own identity. This leads to fixation. They stare because their mind is working to reconcile the contradiction. In essence, Sigma females act as living mirrors. They reflect back people's unspoken desires, insecurities, and self-perceptions. And because most people don't fully understand themselves, they become obsessed with trying to figure you out. And that's why they stare. The confidence disturbance. In a world where most people are conditioned to seek validation, true confidence is rare. Sigma females don't demand attention, they don't seek approval, and they don't conform to society's expectations. And that disturbs people. This is what I call the confidence disturbance. It's the effect you have when your presence alone disrupts the energy in the room. Here's why. Most people operate from a place of insecurity. They adjust their behavior based on how others perceive them. They laugh when they think they should. They speak to fill silence. They constantly check for social cues to make sure they're being accepted. But a Sigma female, she moves through the world on her own terms. She doesn't wait for approval. She doesn't feel the need to prove her worth. She is content within herself, and that makes people stare, because they don't know how to process someone who doesn't play the social game. Some stare because they admire it. They wonder how you can be so comfortable in your own skin. They try to study your movements, your posture, your energy. Others stare because they resent it. They feel uncomfortable in their own self-doubt, and your quiet confidence acts as a reminder of their own weaknesses. Your presence exposes their insecurities. Then there are those who feel challenged. They are used to being the dominant personality in the room. But when a Sigma female enters the space, she doesn't shrink under their energy. She remains unaffected, and that throws them off. You see, confidence without arrogance is a paradox to most people. They expect confidence to be loud, exaggerated, and performative. But Sigma females don't perform, they simply are. And when people can't categorize you, when they can't figure out how you remain so composed in a world built on external validation, they fixate on you. Your confidence creates a disturbance in the social balance, and that's why they stare. The storytelling face paradox. Some faces demand attention, not because they are conventionally beautiful, but because they tell a story. Sigma females often carry an expression that makes people wonder, what has she seen? What does she know? This is what I call the storytelling face paradox. There's something about the way a Sigma female looks at the world, whether it's the depth in her eyes, the slight smirk of knowingness, or the quiet intensity in her features, that triggers curiosity. Humans are naturally drawn to faces that hint at an untold story. Most people wear their emotions on their sleeves, making it easy for others to read them at a glance. But Sigma females, they remain a mystery. Their expressions aren't exaggerated, their smiles aren't forced, and their reactions are controlled. And that's what makes people stare longer than they should. The brain is wired to fill in gaps. When someone sees a face that doesn't immediately reveal its emotions, they become intrigued. They start analyzing. Is she happy? Is she dangerous? Is she thinking about something profound? The lack of clear answers makes them more invested in figuring it out. Sigma females also tend to carry a presence of depth. They look like they've lived, experienced, and understand things that others don't. Even if they're young, their aura gives off wisdom beyond their years. This makes people assume they have stories to tell, stories that aren't spoken but are felt. And let's not forget eye contact. A Sigma female's gaze isn't empty, it isn't passive, it's aware. People can sense when someone is truly present, and that kind of sharp awareness unsettles those who are used to surface-level interactions. Some people stare at you because they're trying to read the chapters of your life just by looking at you. They wonder what you've seen, who you've been, and what you know that they don't. Your face holds more than beauty. It holds depth. And that's why they stare. The unpredictability factor. Most people are predictable. They react the way you expect. They laugh when expected, get flustered when embarrassed, and seek approval when insecure. But Sigma females, they break the pattern, and that's what makes people fixate on them. This is what I call the unpredictability factor. When people can't predict how someone will react, they pay extra attention. Their brain goes into alert mode, trying to anticipate the next move. But when a Sigma female doesn't give away her thoughts or emotions easily, it creates an obsession. Here's why. Most people rely on social cues to navigate conversations. If they say something funny, they expect a laugh. If they act dominant, they expect submission. If they try to impress, they expect approval. But a Sigma female, she doesn't play along. She listens, but doesn't react unless she chooses to. She observes, but doesn't feel the need to respond to every social expectation. She can be warm, but she isn't instantly accessible. She can be engaged, but she doesn't fake enthusiasm, and this throws people off balance. When someone isn't easily readable, people start watching them more closely. They want to understand what makes them tick, what will make them laugh, what will get a reaction. They stare because they're waiting for something to break the mystery. This unpredictability also creates a power dynamic. If you don't give people the reaction they expect, it subtly shifts the control in the interaction. They are now playing your game, trying to figure out your rules. This is why Sigma females often attract attention without trying. People study them, not just because they are mysterious, but because they want to understand what makes them different. They aren't used to people who don't play by the social script, and so they stare. The lost in thought hypnosis. Have you ever caught someone staring at you, completely unaware that they were doing it? Their eyes locked onto you as if they were in a trance. This is what I call the lost in thought hypnosis, a phenomenon where your presence triggers deep, subconscious thinking in others. Here's why it happens. Sigma females often carry a unique energy, an aura that suggests they are deep thinkers, independent minds, and people who have experienced life in a way that others haven't. This energy draws people in, sometimes without them even realizing it. Some people stare because you remind them of something buried in their memory. Maybe you resemble someone from their past, a lost love, a mentor, a figure who once impacted them deeply. Your presence acts as a trigger, and they get lost in thought, trying to connect the dots. Others stare because you make them question something about themselves. Maybe your confidence reminds them of what they lack. Maybe your silence forces them to sit with their own thoughts, something they rarely do. And then there's the simple fact that humans are drawn to things they don't fully understand. When someone exudes mystery, depth, and quiet power, the brain fixates on it, trying to decode what it means. This is why some stares feel different, not aggressive, not admiring, but almost as if the person is somewhere else mentally. They are deep in their own thoughts, using you as a focal point. Some might shake themselves out of it, embarrassed that they were caught. Others might hold eye contact a little longer, almost as if they were searching for an answer. The truth is, Sigma females have a presence that makes people think. And in a world where most people are constantly distracted, that's a rare and powerful thing. And that's why they stare. The power shift stare. This is the biggest reason people stare at Sigma females. It's also the reason why some people admire you, some fear you, and some feel uneasy in your presence. It's called the power shift stare. Every social interaction has an energy dynamic. Most people expect a natural hierarchy. Someone leads, someone follows. Someone dominates, someone submits. But when a Sigma female enters a room, she doesn't play by those rules. She doesn't try to take control, but she also doesn't submit. She simply exists on her own terms, and that changes everything. People sense when the usual power structure has been disturbed. They become hyper-aware of the presence of someone who isn't seeking approval, isn't desperate for validation, and isn't following the social script. This is why people stare, because they feel the power shift. Some people feel drawn to it, as if they've just encountered something rare. Others feel threatened by it, unsure why they suddenly feel less in control of the interaction. This is especially true in professional and social settings. A Sigma female can enter a room full of dominant personalities and, without saying a word, alter the entire atmosphere. Her silence speaks volumes. Her composure makes others aware of their own lack of it. This is why some stares come with admiration, some with confusion, and some with discomfort. Your presence alone shifts the energy, and that's why they stare. Sigma ladies, by now you understand, people don't stare at you by accident. They stare because you are a disruptor, because you are different, because you carry an aura that demands attention without asking for it. Some stare out of admiration, some out of intimidation, some because they simply don't know how to categorize you. So what should you do when people stare? Nothing. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to adjust your energy to make them comfortable. You don't owe them anything. Instead, embrace it. Let them wonder. Let them analyze. Let them try to figure you out, because they never will. The Sigma female doesn't chase attention. Attention chases her. If you're ready to own your presence and walk through the world with quiet dominance, subscribe and join the Sigma Lady movement. Because here, we don't fit in. We define what's next. Until next time, walk like you own the air around you.